game music. Okay, yeah, we're on. Hey!
Hello, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
Happy
Welcome.
2020.
Yes, 2020, we are here. Oh, boy. It's been a while since we last had our show. It was maybe a month ago now. Not even sure. We had the
Probably
holidays.
close to that.
We had the holidays. We had New Year's. We had Thanksgiving. On January 2nd, at least, we had Thanksgiving. If you were a Washington Redskins fan, you had Thanksgiving, probably. And, yeah, well, we're here. Me, Andrew, Charles, and this is our Season 3 premiere. And everybody has done their 2019 years in review, 2010s decade in review, and so we're gonna go through all of that this episode, at least through the first half, and then we've launched the new Goofs Nest. So Andrew is here, taking it in for the first time as well. It's the first time we've done this show in the same physical space in a while as well.
It's we're all of a block away from the old Goose Nest.
Not even, I don't even think it's a block.
Not even.
It's a building away, really. It's but we're moving on up. We got a better view, that's for sure.
That is very true.
And yeah, so guys, 2019, 2020. You guys I was New Year's. I spent mine with my family, ringing in the new decade, quote unquote new decade, because there's no new year zero. But we'll get whatever. It doesn't matter. People are party poopers sometimes like that.
Yeah.
Anything interesting?
I had a steak on New Year's. I was kind of coming back from a cold that I got on the day of Christmas. So I wasn't really Mr. Festive because I am of that mentality that whatever happened in 2019 goes to 2020. But a ribeye rare, gentleman, from Longhorn, that's a good way to end a year and start a year.
Very good. All right. Okay, so let's see. There's so much to actually reminisce about 2019. It's hard to start. I mean, we could go through it section by section of our segments and stuff, like football, hockey, basketball, whatever, or we could just go in general. So I know we're kind of sort of doing this on the fly, but we can do it using our segments here. So our Gottlieb's Goons. Let's start with something pretty salacious, pretty fun sometimes as well. Gottlieb Goon of 2019 for you guys. It was in the whole year, even though the segment itself didn't last the whole year. What was the organization, person, or whatever in sports that was like, man, you guys really screwed up?
I mean, it has to be the namesake, at least for the first year.
Doug Gottlieb.
We thought you were so great at being a pedantic, sardonic know-it-all who strokes himself in front of the mirror that we gave you a segment that kills into the hockey time or everything. And here's the thing, I don't even really remember the stupidity that's just said, but I remember that I liked it so much to put a title. It's coming back. It'll probably come back to me. But from what we've talked about from my own research and from what we talked about past when we created the segment is that this guy is on like Skip Bayless on ecstasy when it comes to silly, salacious, ridiculous things. And I mean, if you want to start really just problems in this world, just have Doug Gottlieb be an ambassador for any situation, for a sport, for politics, for lifestyle. If one of you guys could remind me what he even said, because I'm shooting from the hip quite literally. But I was like, all right, because we had talked about it.
You're shooting from the hip?
I mean, from what I can say, well, I do remember his goon-headedness is so prolific that Roy Williams, when he criticized Roy Williams, the North Carolina Tar Heels basketball coach who has won national championships and has clout, and Doug Gottlieb, who was like a mediocre college basketball player at Notre Dame, There was one game he couldn't put on his shorts right, and that's what Roy Williams poked his criticisms at. Like, this guy can't even put on his shorts right during a game. How is he supposed to criticize me? So that's what I remember him about. Gosh, what was this stupid? Well, he did. I mean, serious. It must have been something stupid. I think it was. I don't know. It might have been something with like paternity leave. I have no idea.
It wasn't. It was Andrew Luck. It was Andrew Luck. I think.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Andrew
That's
Luck.
right.
You know, so to touch on that, you know, for the year in review, for the people who forgot about it, Andrew Luck retired. He basically says, "Ain't no fun no more. My brain is damaged. I don't want to proceed." The guy suffered a lot of injuries, neck injuries, shoulder injuries, a lacerated kidney.
And you say that sounding mockingly, but he had a legitimate gripe to get out of the league.
Completely. You know, I full disclaimer, I don't think anybody should really tell a full-grown adult man when to keep going into work if that kind of job, you know, has him getting pounded for the entertainment of people who are just putting their fingers in their pants, enjoying kicking back, not seeing the physicality, the mental, the emotional, the psychological strain, the possible concerns of any kind of future repercussions on your body, not just CTE, which is a forbidden word in all sports and no one wants to acknowledge, but just your overall everyday happiness. Andrew Luck, it sucked. You know, not to be cute with names. And Doug Gottlieb just kind of basically said, what was the millennial statement, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
There
and so us in that age group, one, I don't think I like being typecast into it because I understand that it's easy us to classify in groups and what have you, but you're just kind of, you know, scattershotting an opinion just to see what sticks, the old pasta trick. But at the end of the day, you, sir, could barely put on your pants for a game, let alone probably can't put on your pants on the everyday prospect. Whereas gentleman Andrew Luck, who is a classy human being, and I still kind of hate the Colts fans for booing him off the field, even as ill-appropriate, his retirement might have been, you know, at the end of the day, you know, this is a human being who really hasn't done anything wrong, so it's not of me to bash somebody for saying this is hurtful. You know, I used to play basketball when we went to school down Miami, and you know what happened, guys? I kind of hurt my ankle, and I got a high sprain, and guess what happened? I kind of stopped for a little bit because it wasn't fun. I was always at risk of hurting myself. I'm 5'7" on a good day, go on for a rebound, and some guy's elbow comes on my head, and I felt very kind of woozy for the remainder of that day. I kind of stopped playing basketball for a bit. If someone, you know, kind of attacked me on it, not understanding that I just didn't like that pain, I would probably, you know, go uber Hispanic and throw my chancla at them, but we'll see.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds
Chancletas, sandals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sandals, flip-flops. Okay.
Speaking of Spanish, someone is greeting us in Spanish.
Oh, saludos a la distancia, Tomasito. Oh, actually, no, it's a family member.
I figured.
Why not?
On Facebook. Okay. Oh, bueno. Gracias por escuchar. Okay, so, that brings me, since we're on this Gottlieb's Goons of 2019, could you say the Indianapolis Colts Goons of the decade? Would they be, I guess, top 5 for
Browns.
for driving a franchise quarterback, a guy who probably would have had a Hall of Fame career, into retiring early? I would say so.
It's definitely
Browns.
possible.
The Cleveland Browns, yeah. I mean, well, I don't know if what they did was goonish. I think they were just, they're just awful.
They kept Hugh Jackson, guys, for 3 years after going 1-15. You know, what's his face?
Is it competence
Habit
goodness?
fires everybody. It's a confident, idiocy. That's part of the Gottlieb thing. So, because I think just in the decade from 2010 to 2019, or 2020, full out decade, the Browns had like 5 head coaches: Pat Schumer, Rob Chudzinski, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
They pop in.
They just fired John Dorsey.
Freddie Kitchens, and Freddie Kitchens went as well.
Yeah, I mean
Dorsey
that was his
actually
decision. That guy was his choice, but he put up a pretty good roster. He just picked the wrong coach. If there was one thing you had to, you could get Jason Garrett if he wants to, but
Well, speaking of Jason Garrett, I'll get to him in a minute.
yeah, but I don't know. like I wouldn't put the Browns as goonish because they're just awful. They're just an awful franchise. Like, I mean, I would say like the Colts where it was completely preventable. Like they had a shoe-in franchise quarterback and ruined him. Whereas the Browns, they're just awful.
They
It's
just
just
suck.
perpetual awfulness since they were reintroduced to the league. Whereas the Colts was like, okay, you Hall of Fame quarterback with Peyton Manning, and then a new
Potential Hall
one
of Fame,
drops
right?
into your lap, and you could have just done the same thing you did with Peyton Manning, but you did it. You ruined it, and everybody was telling you you were ruining it, and you still ruined it. And when it looked like things were getting like, okay, maybe you guys got through it when he became comeback player of the year, all that stuff, but you ruined it so
Still screwed it up.
badly that even after a good season, he had to reconsider his life and be like, you know what, football's not worth it. I'm done. So I would put the Colts up there as maybe one of the goon organizations of the decade.
Can't think of the decade, but
Or at least last year.
Astros.
Oh, that's a good one. The Houston Astros. That is a good one. That is a really good one. They might even be joined by the Boston Red Sox at this point. Yeah. Ugh. Way to cast complete overshadow. Way to overshadow that
I know.
feel good story. 2017 SI, like 3 years prior to that, predicts you're gonna win the World Series. You do it in the year that they predicted, and you know your team is
I
great.
guess they had to fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah, and now, like, all of that is thrown out the wayside. Everybody thinks you cheated, or even if not cheated, did something very nefarious, Bill Belichick-esque, New England Patriots-esque at that point. And well, it looks like the Boston Red Sox are getting dinged for this as well because they. And remember, they had that Apple Watch fiasco that happened as well. So this is not like a new thing for the Red Sox. And of course, they're in Boston with the Patriots, so that could be a thing. I bet Brad Marchand has something up his nose that he's using to cheat on the ice. I could see that Kemba Walker might have a thing. I have no idea. They might be doing some cheating out there with the Celtics as well. I don't know. It's not helping Boston College at football, that's for sure. I got to throw shots in as well. But, yeah, the Houston Astros, dear Lord, that's a good one. That is a very good one. And I told you guys this. The baseball gods will exact their revenge and punish us for our sins by having the Yankees win the World Series this year.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I really do not want that to happen. I actually have another Gottlieb goon. Well, it's not a goon, it's goons, plural. The whole management of the Alliance of American Football.
The whole, yeah, they really messed it up.
The whole management. I know that everyone blames Dundon, which I do blame Dundon for pulling the plug unnecessarily, but the AAF wouldn't have needed his money if they had actually organized correctly. They hadn't just rushed things and taken some swindler's money, which means that you had no money and you weren't being able to pay checks like 2 or 3 weeks in.
That's a good one. That's a very good one. Because it was an intriguing product. It wasn't like...
It was very intriguing. It was legitimately good. It was legitimately good.
Like, on paper, it sounded like an okay idea. Not maybe, like, other minor league football startups have had... we've had it in the past, or developmental football, whatever you want to call it. Of course, this was a league of forgotten players. But I like their idea of... some of them were of getting... Especially drafting guys that were part of college football teams around the areas that they were drafted at, that type of stuff. That was a good idea, but yeah, it seems like the execution they tried so hard to push this idea of like a developmental league, like a G League or a farm system for the NFL, that it's really hard to do so because NFL, I mean, some teams like the Miami Dolphins were just running on practice squad players week after week, just shipping in new guys when after they fulfilled like a 1 week contract or whatever. Like that's how the NFL runs, and I'm sure some of those guys have benefited with some game tape and that type of stuff. But
there were quite a few guys that were in the AAF that got picked up.
Yeah,
like crap, I forget his name, but he's the current kicker for Atlanta, the Falcons.
Yeah.
Played for the Legends in the AAF. I think it's like Young Wei Koo or something.
Mm-hmm.
He gained some notoriety in the AAF, but he also gained a lot of notoriety by kicking 3 straight onside kicks.
I will say this. It did give us the meme of Johnny Manziel eating nachos out of a garbage can. that was really great. That was a fantastic moment. It did give us that moment when we were watching the games on YouTube of the people commenting on Johnny Manziel and his habitual drug use and it was just great. So there was some good moments out of that as well. I mean, honestly, maybe they should have made fun of themselves in a way. I don't know, just played on the meme.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but they didn't have enough money to play on the memes for themselves. I guess. So, Dundon shut them down, and the bunch of jerks out in Carolina somehow, I don't know, it fueled them for some. I don't know, some. It all kind of mixes in some. I don't know. Maybe that's why he sacrificed the AAF so that Carolina Hurricanes could be revived at Raleigh. I have no idea. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one for last year as far as an organization is concerned.
I have another one. Sorry, I'm hogging.
Nice.
The NCAA.
In general, for a lot of things.
Just existing.
Well, mainly I gotta say it's for the NLI, name, likeness, image.
Okay.
It's crazy to think how much things have changed. It's crazy how much has changed in just 10 years. The Ed O'Bannon lawsuit that got this whole thing kickstarted was started in 2009. So the whole landscape of college athletics has underwent a seismic doesn't even do it justice. I'll just say seismic change in just the past decade. I mean, whether it's Kemba Walker coming out after the national championship game, basically saying that we're hungry, we don't get food, which led to the NCAA lifting the restrictions on food amounts for athletes. This has been the NCAA is over 100 years old, I think, at this point. It started around when Teddy Roosevelt was trying to
change the rules of football
so people didn't die.
There's a great drunk history segment about it.
Yeah, I love that show. So I don't think it's much hyperbole to say that arguably one of the greatest periods of change and transition in the 100-plus year history of the NCAA has been in the past 10 years. So going back to the Gottlieb Goon thing, they're total goons, whether it's for not allowing players to be fed like that, the 1,000,001 times where a kid is given a violation because he was sleeping at his coach's house because he was homeless. that don't even get me started on the whole, like I said, the name, likeness, image thing. Even to football transfers, where kids are moving back home to be with family members that are sick, have like cancer, or are very, very sick, and the NCAA is denying their transfers, so they're not allowed to play for that year. They have to wait a year. It's like, pardon my language, but fuck you, NCAA.
Yeah.
Like, they are a massive Gottlieb goon. And
they make billions.
They make billions of dollars. And not take scholarships away. I'm not even going to get into this because I could take an hour on it. But they're making billions of dollars. They consider themselves a non-profit. Like, holy hell. If anyone's interested, John Oliver in Last Week Tonight did a segment on the NCAA. You can find it on YouTube. Just look up John Oliver NCAA. It's like 14 or 15 minutes long, and it's very eye-opening. I highly recommend it. So, yeah, another decade Gottlieb Goon. All of mine have been from the past year.
You got some hard-hitting ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, but my decade Gottlieb Goon probably has to be the NCAA.
Okay. I have another one here. 2K games.
Oh.
2K games.
Yeah.
Like for the WWE 2K20 controversy. Now I don't even play the game, and even the Switch version of last year's game was horrible. But that was just, as a Nintendo fan, that kind of it's kind of unfair that we get shoddy ports of games that should be slam dunks to port and make. But there's a guy on YouTube called Matt McMuscles, and he has a series called Wahapball, which is he looks back at game development and basically some high profile video games that were touted, they were hyped up, people were excited for them, and then
they fell flat on their face.
Exactly, and the reasons why. Of course, a lot of video games aren't duds just because because everything went hunky dory and they just didn't take. No, they're duds because of everything that happened prior to that. So he went back at a WWE 2K20 since it was such a huge controversy.
Remind me what happened?
The game is...
It's like unplayable, right?
In some instances, yes. In some instances, the game will soft lock on you. Basically, you're playing, and for whatever reason, you can't keep playing. So you have to reset the game.
Huh.
Other instances, the graphics are all over the place. Physics are awful. It's all awful. And it's amazing how 2K Games, or Take-Two Interactive, which is the big publisher, and this is really sports video games in general, how lack of competition has ruined sports video games. If anything, I would say organizations of the decades, EA Games, Take-Two Interactive, for ruining sports video games.
Yeah.
Simulation sports video games. Basically.
I was actually about to say that
the only one that seems to have a good thing going is Sony with their MLB The Show series. But outside of that, Madden, FIFA, NHL, NBA 2K, WWE 2K, all of those games are exclusive licenses, and there's no competition. So lack of competition makes bad games. Even the WWE former developers, was it Juke or whatever? They were the former developers of the game.
Ukes. Yeah.
Ukes. They've been developing video games since ever. Wrestling video games since the PlayStation N64 days. Back when there was like a bunch of wrestling video games, and they were like, well, we used to have competition, so that made us strive to be better. But once we were the only game in town, what was the point of us being better? It was nothing to drive us forward. They just got sick of making the same thing every year with little to no differences. I mean, Charles would know better. He buys the games, but...
I mean, yes. And also, I would add on to the loot box controversy, Francisco.
Oh yeah. But just the loot box controversy, NBA 2Ks, NBA 2Ks, my player whatever mode where you pretend to be a player and you're developing and you reach the NBA is just a cash grab, little by little microtransactions. So that's ruined NBA games. And we can even see it here. I mean, you're playing NCAA right now, but I have NBA Street V3, and that game is chock full of stuff, and all of it's unlockable just by playing the game. You don't have to buy a thing, and it used to be that way. But now, all of that fun has been sapped out. I mean, FIFA has, and Madden has the trading cards and all that stuff. NHL has the same thing as well. So you can't even play with certain players.
The games have essentially turned into mobile games where
basically
like there's a game that I play or played where it's fun at first, it's easy going, it's you can go pretty quickly through the levels. It's all psychological. Because you hook them in by making it easy to play at first, and you give them a little bit more to go on. It's like, oh, it's getting a little bit tougher. Here, we're gonna give you a free upgrade, and then it gets progressively harder and harder and harder, and eventually, it becomes to the point where you can't play anymore, more or less. So. People have known that for years about mobile games, to stay away from Clash of Titans or whatever, Clash of Kings, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, whatever.
But now it's seeping its way into freaking FIFA or whatever.
Yeah, sports, video games, all that stuff. So I would say, those guys would be goons of the decade because they've ruined sports video games. Like, if you want an actual good sports video game nowadays, you probably have to buy, like, a fantasy one. Like a Mario version of the games, because those are still pretty fun to play, so...
Right.
Like, there's...
Although, I will say, I know I'm jumping back a decade.
That's fine.
But I'd say the initial Gottlieb goon is EA, because they were the ones that kicked off the whole exclusivity rights thing with Madden.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. It was like simultaneous. They got the exclusive rights to Madden in 2006, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was the first year of exclusivity.
Yeah, it was after Sega released NFL 2K5, which a lot of people still think is the best football game ever made.
And then right around then, they got the exclusivity rights to, right around then, kind of as a return salvo, forget who signed it. I think Sony signed an exclusivity with the MVP baseball got pushed out.
Well, actually, Sony. No. Sony.
No.
It was Take-Two. It was 2K Games. They signed an exclusivity with Major League Baseball to release third-party as an exclusive third-party creator, but the console makers could still make their own versions. So Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo could make their own baseball game.
Right.
But only Sony was like, "This is worth it."
Right.
And they developed one of the best sports games.
And then they eventually pushed the people out of the market that
And
got
now,
the company in the first place.
Xbox and Nintendo owners will soon get MLB The Show.
Exactly.
So thank you, Sony. So they are not a goon for the decade. That's for
right.
Sure.
So I think EA gets a lion's share of the blame because they fired the first shot, and then 2K responded in kind, and then now we're here.
Okay. Any other goons of last year or the decade? Nothing comes to mind, guys. We can move on.
I think we hit the big parts.
Yeah, we got some good ones in there, and I'm sure we might think of new ones along the way. Okay. Sue, How about let's go to our real MVPs. The real MVPs for sports personalities or whatever for last year or even the past decade. Just that really stood out to you guys. That may have gone above and beyond how you could feel about somebody in a sports setting. I don't know. I mean, like the Monday Night Football cat. I mean, that cat inspired the world. You can be anything in this world. That's a good MVP there. I have to say, I'd like to start with Andrew Luck. I mean, this guy, and I'm sure he's set for life. He's made his millions. I'm sure he's invested wisely. Has some stuff tucked away as well. He's not gonna, and he'll find something in his life. Maybe not in football, but that'll keep him gainfully employed and happy with his life. But
he won't have to work another day in his life if he chooses to.
If he chooses not to, yeah, exactly. But he, in a situation where I think most players wouldn't have walked away, he walked away. I remember, I think Derrick Rose had this type of issue as well, and he kept going with it. But luckily, he's kind of revived his perception in the NBA. But Andrew Luck just decided, you know what, I'm not happy with this, and I'm gonna go to something else and enjoy my life and just not be with football. That's a type of thing that's really hard for anybody to do in any setting. Just to say, you know what, I don't like this chapter of my life. I want to end it here and start a new thing. Mm-hmm. So, actually, part of that inspired me to do what I'm doing right now, because it's really hard to walk away from something that you've known for a while and you're used to, and a lot of people would look at it from the outside thinking, why are you leaving such a good situation? You're doing good, well, but just because from the outside things look good doesn't mean from the inside things are as good as people think it is. So, and that's really a thing in life, really. You can put on facades and there's stuff in the background that you just don't know about. Mm-hmm. So Andrew Luck put himself out there in a situation which couldn't have been easy for him and walked away. So I commend him for that. I think he's overall like a real MVP for 2019, maybe even a decade, because he had a great career and he had horrible injuries and he came back from it, but walked away at the end. So that's one for me.
I'd say that one for me, it's not a person, it's not a singular person, but it would have to be all of the researchers into concussions and CTE.
That's a good one.
Again, a lot has changed in that field over the past decade. I forget the guy who ended up being portrayed by Will Smith in that movie Concussion, but like look at all the people who have committed suicide because of presumably CTE. You've got Junior Seau. I think this was before the decade, but Chris Benoit, highly likely that he had CTE. These researchers, CTE wasn't even a thing, basically, back in 2010. People, targeting wasn't a thing in football. I could go on and on, but the research into head injuries and CTE, that was a huge change over the past decade. So a lot of props to them.
That's true. I mean, even the controversies in football today, in the NFL, like the quarterback, the roughing the quarterback rule now, all that is in response to this type of stuff.
Exactly.
Trying to protect and trying to make the game safer, all that type of jazz. It's ruffled everybody's feathers in either direction. The people that want it to be so safe, other people that love the hardcore action, and the people in the middle who are like, well, this is both good and bad, and sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not. I mean, they're kind of like New Orleans Saints fans. Hey, put in this rule because we got screwed. And then the next year, crap, this rule screwed us. Change it. That's basically, but here in this instance, it's not about a pass interference replay type of stuff. It's about life or death. So, yeah, that's a really good one, man. That's a really good one.
And look, I mean, even going into like hockey or football, don't get me wrong. Like, the first hockey video game that I ever played was NHL '98 on the PC, and pull up the trailer on YouTube. That was a lot of fun. That game. Spent many hours playing that. That was a lot of fun, and really kind of how I really became a hockey fan. The type of play back then, I freaking loved it. It was like, bam, the Scott Stevens, Paul Correa hit in the 2003 Stanley Cup final. These hip checks. It's like, yeah, you love the mayhem, you love the madness. Or these, like, huge hit stick tackles in football. Like, you just love the carnage. It makes your blood boil with enthusiasm. But you also have to temper...
Look, there's Chris Pronger right there.
Exactly.
That's like the first thing. Who himself is a victim of concussions that ended his career.
So it's... Don't get me wrong. I love the carnage as much as the next guy, but ultimately you kind of have to set that aside. And I never for a second thought about any of this prior to this decade. Maybe it's because I was young. I mean, I was in high school when the decade started. But you kind of have to temper that and realize that these are still humans that will have lives, hopefully 30, 40 years after they retire, maybe more even. These guys can get seriously injured. So I'm glad that there's more safety, even if it is at the expense of some of that action that you enjoy.
Okay. Charles, any MVPs for you for at least last year of the decade?
I'll give you a bit of both. How about that? Last year and last decade, and one is going to be part of the fandom, and the other one's going to be part of more the inspiration. I don't like to really get cheesy or sentimental, especially if you're talking about MVP of decades, because I think professional athletes or whoever that do good things and try to use their platforms to make good things happen, to change communities, the world, they all deserve accommodations. Those are real MVPs. Mind you, I'm already telling you who the 2020 MVP is going to be, so I'm telling you right now, it's the Tennessee Titans for getting rid of Tom Brady. That's a little bit spoiler alert from a year from now. You're welcome. There you go. We'll go last year and a decade for me. Last year, as cheesy as it is, I'll give the real MVP to Roman Reigns. You guys know that he had leukemia in 2018, and he came back to go back and become a full-time performer in 2019. He had just won the Universal title off of Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2018, diagnosed with leukemia. Apparently he had it happen before, so it was quiet. He vacated the title. Wrestling in and of itself, not just for me, for those who do view it, it is their, it's their entertainment, it's their catharsis, it's what have I always said, a great soap opera, a ballet, a dance, mixed in with some good heartfelt, because at the end of the day, you always want to see the comeuppance of the villain. So comes, I think, January or February, I think it was February around March time, he comes back, tells everybody he's in remission, and then, he gets back to doing full time. He had leukemia. So he's doing fine now. I think on the horizon in 2020, he's going to get that Universal belt. That's a little preview for you guys for later shows and later segments of The Cage. And then for the decade, I'm going to give it to one guy just because I kind of hated the way how his career ended, but it kind of keeps in line with the Roman Reigns. Because it's tough to say, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but I always respected Eric Berry, the former Kansas City Chief safety who was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, went through the ringer on there, and then came back to get AAP Comeback Player of the Year, play a little bit, and then injuries kind of derailed him. But those two, whether it be, Roman, whose real name's Joe, because that was his whole thing for a bit, and then Eric Berry, they use their platforms to kind of tell people, hey, it's important to be out there. Why? Because you did have a few current players or coaches who did die from leukemia. Flip Saunders, the former coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, also the Detroit Pistons and whatnot. It's all kind of the same thing. So good for them for taking a very real, very serious situation that, because I remember when Flip went, they said it was treatable and he'd be fine, and then he died. So you're like, okay. So these are young men or adult men and adult women too, who kind of took care of themselves and, put that out there, because it's also a very public thing. So imagine, either doing it at a presser and also doing it at a, on a live television audience, and people don't know what's going to happen. Then there's Vince McMahon says, all right, we're going to turn Dean Ambrose on Seth Rollins right now. We're doing it. And I'm not going to lie, for that heat, I would have done it too. But yeah, those are my two guys. There's a list on the side of any kind of health-related issues. I think you look at any kind of, the women's U.S. gymnastics, the women's soccer team too. It's reflective. We say, y'all all kind of the MVPs, but I only got one title to give, so it's all right.
I mean, there's so many you could choose from. As far as players, I mean, Brian Boyle also had cancer. He came back.
Yeah. And then all the people that we've lost, Craig Sager, Stuart Scott. List goes on and on.
Yeah, it's so you realize that this stuff happened 10 years ago.
I know. Within
like,
the
that
past
happened
10 years.
This last decade. I'm like, wow.
And I know, kind of getting away from the more serious stuff, but just on a more personal level. Huge MVP to the University of Central Florida. I have never been as big a sports fan as I've been since August of 2010 when I became a UCF Knight. I was always big into sports. Not really so much football. I followed hockey and I followed baseball. That was about it. But UCF has kind of rejuvenated my love for sports, not just in college, which was non-existent, but just overall. And, being at UCF has made my sports life, and really my life in general, that much richer in the past 10 years.
Oh, I see. You went a sentimental route. That's a good one.
Like I said, I can be sentimental if I so desire.
That's a good one. I guess I would have to. I guess a personal one. I guess Litterbox Cats, SB Nation, because I wouldn't have done some of the actual hockey reporting that I've done. Really, I mean, I didn't know a lick about hockey beginning of the decade. My brother-in-law was a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. Took me to a game. Penguins versus the Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Panthers, and I fell in love with the sport right there and then. I saw it firsthand in person, and boom. So I mean, I casually saw some stuff. I saw the 2004 final, the 99 final. I remember seeing that, but outside of that, I wasn't really into it until that moment, and then from there it kind of snowballed into this schmuck of a person going in, like knowing zilch about the sport and getting into locations and meeting people and players and coaches that fans who've been fans for all their lives would never have had that opportunity. From a professional-ish standpoint, Yeah. So it's, so I thank Donnie who ran the website, even Todd now who runs it now, on SB Nation, who picked it up along the way when they started buying up all these blogs, and made themselves the juggernaut they are now. But some issues in California, which unfortunately ruined some things for the California blogs, but that's a whole other thing. I could talk about it some other time. Yeah, I would say Litterbox Cats for the opportunity. I mean, I just wrote an article to finish the decade for the Panthers. I've got another one on my mind as well, so I'll get my juices back to flowing now that I'm not killing myself at work for a job that I hated. So,
well, you're still open to write for Reddit CFB if you so desire.
Yeah, but you're more college football. I mean, if the Seminoles aren't doing good, I completely zone out for a lot of things, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's it opened up opportunities for me. I've met some people, some great people in high places too. That holy crap, wow. So that's it for me. Those are my real DPs, sports wise at least.
How about you, Charlie?
Francisco. You and I forgot one guy, Francisco, and it kind of takes into 2011 to 2019 because he helped bring a couple of championships to Miami, and it so happened.
Okay.
I mean, it feels right. We got to put a little flavor. We got to do it for the Flash, you know, because he left us with the greatest gift, Jimmy Butler. It's all connected.
Honestly, that's a good
Seriously.
one.
Yeah,
that's a very good
that.
one for down here at least, because think about this. Think about the trajectory of Dwayne Wade's arc throughout his career. He's drafted in 2003. The Heat are in the basement. They are a basement-dwelling team. Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, that era of basketball is gone. Miami entering a new one. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Dwayne Wade plays so well that the Heat, Pat Riley trades for Shaquille O'Neal, and boom.
I love the timing. Just as you said, boom, the guy gets tackled.
Dwayne Wade, trade for Shaq. The Heat win their 2006 championship. Then, because of Dwayne Wade, he can attract, and Pat Riley as well, attract LeBron James and Chris Bosh, two of the top 5 best players on the planet, to come join him. And they win 2 championships, 4 finals in a row. And then Dwayne Wade sticks around for a little time after that. Then it takes a dramatic turn. It's kind of like a movie, you know, that part of the movie where the two sides that are on the same side, they get in a little fight. Oh, well, I hate you. Well, I hate you too. And they separate for a bit, you know, and then they realize, you know what? We're always better together. We shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't be fighting. The same thing happened for Dwayne Wade. He goes off to Chicago. He goes back home to Chicago. That's where he's from. Realize that the Bulls fans aren't, you know, Chicago isn't all that great. It's cold. You know, the Blackhawks stopped winning. The Cubs fans were the only people that were happy at that point. You know, and the Miami Heat also, like, oh man, they got swindled. They fell in love with Hassan Whiteside and this group of journeymen. They thought, oh man, we could definitely win with these guys. Hassan Whiteside's a lazy bum who picks Yoshi as a main in Super Smash Brothers. You know, like they realize, oh man, we need. If only we could reunite with Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade goes off to see his buddy LeBron out in Cleveland, and LeBron's like, I'm sorry, man, I can't have you here anymore. And Dwayne Wade's like, yeah, man, I wish I could go home. You know what? I'm going to make that happen for you. Calls up the Miami Heat. Pat Riley's like, I miss him. He's like, we miss him too. Well, we'll get you guys back together. They get back together. Dwayne Wade has one fantastic moment in the playoffs, getting a victory for the Heat against the Sixers, the frauds in the 76ers. Exactly. The following season, his final season of his career, it's a love fest. All the teams honoring him. And then the final, I mean, he had one of the greatest farewell moments of any player, really. It's up there. It's up there with like Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera, all those guys that just, so many players don't get to end their career with the team that defined them.
Right.
Like, we're talking about Tom Brady right now, possibly going off to someplace else and not finishing his career with the Patriots. But Dwayne Wade got a chance to come back, and what's like Charles said, his final parting gift. The Heat didn't make the playoffs last year, but while he was in Chicago, he told Jimmy Butler, "Man, it's not like Miami, man. The Heat way, the Heat culture, it's something different, man. I thought Chicago was gonna be fun. I was gonna go back home, but it's not the same anymore. I'm not a Chicago man anymore. I'm a Miami guy. You're a Miami guy. Whenever you get the chance, I'm gonna get you there too." And he got him there. And look, the Heat now, best record at home in the NBA. One of the top 5 teams in the NBA right now, and it's getting fun. Good one. That's a good one. Dwayne Wade.
Clemson is ready to kick it away.
February 22nd is the retirement ceremony. That's gonna be fun.
You going?
Oh, I probably can't afford that ticket. At this point, that probably sold out. It's probably super high on StubHub.
Charles, thanks for reminding us. Doug for the real MVP. Dougie Souls.
Dougie
wherever
Souls.
you are in the world, which is probably out somewhere in Brickell working.
Oh, he is actually going to move to a new apartment. But
Well, he works in Brickell.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Okay, that's a good one.
Comes out in the shotgun.
Real MVPs. Fantastic. Oh boy. So I guess some others, since we still got like about 8 minutes left before our halfway point. Over the last year, guys, what was best sports moment for you guys over the last year, and even the last decade, if you want? 2010 through 2019. I could start with mine.
Go ahead.
I guess for the decade, I'll go with, Game 6 and 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals. I was there for both games. Is sentimental to me. That's why I wasn't mad at LeBron for leaving. I saw the Ray Allen shot. I was in utter shock when it happened. I couldn't move from my seat. I wasn't cheering. I was I guess like a deer in the headlights. Like, just, I froze in that moment. Was in disbelief at what I was seeing. That was how powerful that moment was for me. And then the following night when they won it all.
Were you there for both of them?
I was there for both games.
That's awesome.
That's why I was never mad at LeBron for leaving. So that would be mine for the decade. And as far as last year, 2019, you know what? I'd have to give. It's a more personal one. Probably the game that we saw the Florida Panthers. They brought us goofs onto the ice to entertain the masses. That's probably mine for 2019. That's a good one.
That is a good one. Charles, you go next, because I probably could do a million.
Okay, well, the 3, and I'm going to catapult as a 3. One of them is actually going to be of 2019, but has something to do with the same group of people, and the other 2 is going to be part of the decade. I would say 3 Yankee greats retired.
Ooh, that's a
Mariano Rivera in 2013, Derek Jeter in 2014, CC Sabathia in 2019. And each one in their final season kind of had an impact. The guys know, and I'm sure the listeners know, Mariano Rivera is my favorite Yankee. He is the closer. He is the end. You don't wake up when he comes up, man, because he's the Sandman. He puts you to sleep. He helped generate, the World Series rings that we had. Arguably the best receiver. Oh, no, I'm sorry, the receiver. I'm thinking of something else. Best reliever. In addition to that, unanimous Hall of Fame. Ballot, entry, vote, what have you. I remember I got to see Mariano Rivera shortly before he retired in 2011 or 2012. I'm in Tropicana. The Yankees lost that day, so I didn't get to see him actually pitch, but he was out there signing, and there's some fat guy in Spanish going, Mariano, buenos hijos, and I'm about to break out my Spanish, like, Mariano, por mí, por qué, come here, come here, man, because I loved it. You're that good where, imagine being so good at your craft where you are the seminal position. You are the seminal closer.
If you look up closer in the dictionary, it's his face pops up.
Yeah. Very humble, very calm, cool, collected. Yeah, he might have cost us a World Series, but, we had so many with him. It's okay. I don't take what happened with the Marlins and with the Diamondbacks there seriously. It just burns a little bit of my skin. But especially during, I grew up in this. It's the first franchise I supported so much of being a kid in 1995, so I'm just on the cusp of 5 to 6. And you're getting in the pinstripes, you're being indoctrinated, you're being institutionalized, but you get one of the most humble players out there, from beginning to end. Remember, this was a guy who was supposed to be a full-out starting pitcher who lost all sense and sensibility of any other kind of throw besides his dirty cutter, and it turns out to being, the dirtiest of cutters out there.
I'd argue that Mariano Rivera's cutter is probably one of the top 10 pitches of all time.
It's weird, right? And that's how good you are, because not only are you synonymous with the term or position closer, but you're just as R.A. Dickey is synonymous, I think, with the knuckleballer or Tim Wakefield, so is Mariano, and he's leagues ahead of him. So that's part of it. Jeter, same thing, grew up in the mindset, Captain Clutch, the captain,
Mr. November.
Mr. November, Mr. Quiet New York Playboy dating with Milan on the side. Another soon to be Hall of Famer. Now he's in the Marlins, coming around.
Possibly savior of the Marlins franchise.
Possibly, and just like Dwayne Wade, you're welcome. You get all these Golden Gloves, high postseason batting averages, 14-time All-Star, World Series MVP, Rookie of the Year '96. It was weird for me because I realize I'm older. I'm 30. I'll be 31 eventually.
Holy crap.
And I am old. To be a kid watching your legends kind of retire, and I remember being in one of our with Finger Hut in our class and Finger Hut also loves the Yanks too, loves Jeter. And he put on replay Jeter's last home game at plate, and it was a double run and in, and that's how he's remembered.
Yeah.
To win the game. I think it was against the Sox, and
Yep.
I don't cry that much. Sports is a form of entertainment. It's not something to get emotional. But maybe I got a little misty-eyed for the little boy that's inside of me. And of course, the last one, CC Sabathia's, for 2019, his final game, seeing the man's body literally break down. He was brought in to bring a title in 2009. He brought the title. Thank you for the World Series. He was a consistently good to great pitcher for a couple years. After that, bringing us to those ALCS games where we just could not beat the Texas Rangers. It happens. They were a better team with who they had. He kept trying to be consistent. Then he had issues with his knee, then his weight. Then, of course, he had his alcoholism issues, checked into rehab. But the guy kind of did everything right, acted right, and, he wanted to go out on his terms. So he knew that 2019 season was going to be his final season. And when he kind of went and he retired, you lose that sensation of who is Mr. Yankee now, who is the hero. Right now it's Brett Gardner, but Brett's on a one-year deal. And when Brett goes, it's out. So to remember, Jeter and Mariano, to remember him and Jeter going into my childhood, to my teenager, to everything else, now you're seeing CeCe, who is at the cusp of my adulthood, the burgeoning beginnings of my adulthood, and he's calling quits, and he literally died. If you guys watched the thing, his body just broke down.
Yeah,
and then
I saw it live.
That was sad.
It was tough. It was tough, but it's a guy who literally
It was
gave
at
it
home
all.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at home, and then his post-release, Twitter release or whatever of his retirement. Thank you for being such and such. Part of my life, and he'll start a new thing, and he'll get the love. He'll probably have his jersey retired or what have you. But that's for me for the year and for the decade. But I don't want to say it's the New York Yankees because we all roll our eyes. But that's that emotional moment, or that's that attachment that makes sports greater than just being guys with sticks hitting balls because they're bored or they're getting paid a lot of money.
Whew, man, this is tough because this has been a huge decade.
They'll start this drive at the 16.
Well, I have three things that I'm going to kind of combine into one, because that would just take up too much time. UCF's first bowl win, which was the 2010 Liberty Bowl. That was my first season as a fan. Second would be the 2013 Fiesta Bowl.
Okay.
52-42 over Baylor. And the 2017 Peach Bowl against Auburn. Three huge moments in my life. I mean, for varying reasons. The one in 2010, I mean, the Liberty Bowl is not in the realm of things anywhere close to the prestige of the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl, but it was huge for the program. It was the first bowl win ever. It was against an SEC team, and it was really what further hooked me into being a UCF fan. The other two are obvious. It's huge moments in program history. One of them was our first BCS major bowl win. It was over a team that people gave us less than no chance of winning. And then same thing with the Peach Bowl against Auburn. Man, what else? It's tough to think because it's both short and long. A decade is. I forget, what is the prompt?
I mean, yeah, the moments of the decade for you personally or in general. I mean, those are all personal to you. That's
right.
Sure.
I think the game-winning goal by Landon Donovan in the 2010 World Cup against Ghana.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, I remember screaming and running down the hall when I saw that go in. And of course, a couple of weeks later, someone came out and posted a whole compilation video of people all over the world celebrating. What else?
Okay. Yeah, some big news just happened right now. So.
Oh no, what happened?
Huh?
What happened?
Some worldwide news with Iran in the U.S.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you just saw that, but it's sorry, it's just something. It's real world type of stuff. So I was just had that preoccupied, but we're at the halfway point, guys.
Oh, you're cutting me off.
Huh? No. I mean, yeah, there's no rules here, man. You can think about it, or
it's kind of like Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. I'm trying to think of other major moments. Nope, that was 2008. I think Michael Phelps getting the Olympic gold record.
I'll say this: U.S.-Canada final Olympics 2010. That was
Oh, don't get me wrong. It was an amazing.
One of the best hockey games ever played.
It was one of the best games I've ever seen personally, but I still get nightmares about that ending. U.S. women winning the FIFA World Cup a couple times this decade.
SB Nation has its prompt here. Tell us about your worst childhood sports nightmare. I got picked off at second base, just lazing about. The pitcher just turned. No, I got picked off by the catcher. They threw it back that was bad. That was a really bad moment.
My worst was, it was probably like T-ball when this happened.
Okay.
Don't ask me why I thought this, but you know how you're allowed to run through first base?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I thought that was the rule for third base.
Oh, no.
So I'm at second, I run toward third, and I'm like, okay, I can just run through the base, and I'll be safe. you can imagine what happened next.
Oh God. Okay. Oh. Okay. So, can we want to go to the halfway point?
Yeah, and I'll think more of my.
That's fine. All right, so it's a word from our non-sponsors, people, places, things. We could even do a decade and 2019 version of our favorite non-sponsors of last year and or the decade. So if anybody wants to start it off, we can go ahead. I mean, I will say this. 2019 would be, for me, the Nintendo Switch. like, since, because we all went to law school around the same time for the most part, and...
We were together for 2 years.
Yeah. So, between that time, I used to play video games like crazy from before that, and then law school hit, and I realized I self-realized I couldn't play video games the way I used to, because of, especially first year, because of the gauntlet that it was. So I had to set that aside, and I set it aside for a long while, maybe 3.5 to 4 years. Even 2018, I didn't game that much, even after I had graduated and started working. But 2019 hit, and I was hitting my stride career-wise, and the Switch, gosh darn it, Nintendo, what a fantastic product for my lifestyle. I could play the games, the big games. Because before I could game on a 3DS and that type of stuff. And that's what I mostly played, because there were small bites of games, but you couldn't play any big console stuff. But Nintendo's like, we're going to give you that big console stuff, and we're not gonna compromise it either. And you get the Switch, and you can put your thing onto the TV as well and play it like a big console if you want. That's the Switch. My sister got it for my birthday in 2017. And wow.
Has it been out that long?
Huh? Yeah, it's been out that long.
Jeez.
And it's been the perfect companion. I take it with me everywhere I go. I've been since I started working 2018 till now. I've been traveling a lot, as you guys notice, to work, for work, to horrible places, to great places like El Paso, Texas.
Shout out to El Paso.
Exactly, city of the decade. And gosh darn it, the Switch has given me some great gaming moments. I play Smash Bros. Like crazy, Splatoon 2 like crazy, Rocket League like crazy now. And we're getting big games that nobody thought we would ever get, like Doom and The Witcher and Dark Souls, all that type of stuff. And we're getting all the good Nintendo stuff that I've always loved, like Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild. So 2019 for sure was the Switch, because I started playing a lot more of it last year, and wow. Whoa. So that's my 2019 non-sponsor for me.
Charles, you're next.
Oh, man. All right. So it's kind of tough, because, choosing between children, because, everything that we kind of list out each week as a non-sponsor. And, guys, there's my strong love of the KFC Cheetos sandwich, which was delicious. There was the 10B tie rack, which made me feel like a real man, to which I'm going to name my firstborn, male or female, or in between after 10B. There was, obviously, we talked about a couple of video games on there. Nintendo Switch I popped in there. I think I had Smash Brothers in there. There's a lot, and if you're going to ask me of 2019, the decade I already know. And it's going to be the decade that led to, probably a lot of weight I gained before I actually got myself serious, and that was just Taco Bell, because 2010 to 2016 was peak Taco Bell, where they just had all the greatest things ever. You're introduced to drinking for the first time. So when you're super drunk and you want all the Doritos tacos with a Crunchwrap Supreme, and then cheese and Fiesta potatoes. So yeah, I from Charles at I was 20 in 2009, going to 2010, became 21. So 2010 to 2016, I probably couldn't advocate enough for it. because it was just all around. Then now I'm not crazy about their new menu. Maybe that's, the universe telling me, Charles, you're 30, time to be healthy. We got to get you to 60. And I'm like, fine, I guess. I mean, they took out.
There, Charles.
I know, they took out the Doritos. I can't explain it. So that's my decade we'll throw out there. Everybody can agree with me because the last 10 years of Taco Bell has been pretty great. But 2019, I'm going to go with the thing that was the most memorable for me. And that was going to New Orleans. I loved it. I love just everything from the food, eating at Daisy Duke's. My Louisiana Purdue French toast that was so good. I'll never have another French toast in the state of Florida ever again. Palace Cafe was just delicious. I wasn't too crazy about the little banana drink I had, but it was still good. Eating, I have pralines are good. I got like a little bacon peanut butter pretzel thing that was good to me from some other, people who go there and all that stuff. And it's like great. Just everything that's sweet there. Obviously, Bourbon Street smells like puke, but you know what? Miami smells like puke sometimes. New York smells like puke often, so it's fine. So I enjoy it, and then I love Frenchman Street, listening to the band until like 3 in the morning as I'm just drinking a water, and, just go around the tours. The World War II Museum was fantastic. I encourage people to travel if you're not burdened with a, children or significant other or a dog or a cat that you can't always leave separate, because separation anxiety is real with pets. My pets lose their minds all the time. Like, I'm going to D.C. Thursday. So I'm gone from Thursday to Sunday, and I'm looking to travel. Maybe that'll be my non-special 2020. But go there to give yourself some culture, to realize it's a tourist place. But it's also a lot of fun because it's a place where you can craft your fun. I went there for the party boy in me, which is a rare sleeping bear, but he comes out every now and then. I went there for the foodie in me, and it did not disappoint. I had some catfish. I had shrimp. I even had good pizza on Bourbon Street. Granted, 3 hurricanes in and a hand grenade, anything's going to taste great, but the pizza was pretty good from what I remember. And I went there for the different culture, the music, the World War II Museum, excellent. I will go back there, give it a couple of years, maybe another year and a half. So that's my non-sponsor. Sponsor, usually I go with items or a video game or food. 10B Tie Rack was pretty close, you guys. I got to tell you, I really want to give it to it because if I think by getting that and purchasing it, and hanging and putting ties there, put some hairs on my chest. Maybe it made my mustache go out full. I swear I got a letter from Social Security the next day, and the IRS. Turns out it's other things. That's not fun. But New Orleans, I'll give it to you. Have fun with it.
Okay. How about you, Andrew?
Oh.
I'm trying to think of one for the decade, because I did one from last year, but not of the decade. Gosh, that's a little hard for me. That's so many things.
For the year, probably FIU Law School.
Last year?
Yeah, because it got me through part of the bar.
Yeah, that's true.
And actually the MPRE for that matter. Mm-hmm. And going into 2020, hopefully I'll be able to pass the Florida portion of the bar. As for the decade, I'm going to skip UCF just because I already mentioned them earlier. I will go back to FIU Law, and here's why. Here, you want to play?
Sure.
LSU is winning the national championship, everyone. You saw it here first.
The Sports Goofs simulator.
For FIU, I'm going to get a bit sentimental again. I apologize, fellas. But I've met my best friends at FIU. Dougie Souls, Yankel. There's these 2 assholes named Francisco and Charles.
Ugh, those guys suck.
Yeah, they suck. No, but seriously, always, I thought, call it, it's just all going to go downhill from from UCF. I had so much fun there. But nah, it's the good times have kept rolling, and in some ways, I've had more fun at FIU just because I'm older and more mature. People have more in common with me. I don't know. I could go getting really sentimental here, but that's I spent 3 good years at FIU Law. I'm still heavily connected to it. I'm connected to the friends that I've had. So yeah, if I'm bypassing UCF because I already mentioned them, then I would have to go to FIU Law School, College of Law. I can be very sentimental, guys.
If I had to give one for the decade, I'd give it to my iPhone.
I come in with this huge thing about I have so many good friends and I spent 3 years there. My fucking iPhone.
Actually, what you said there led me to the iPhone.
Oh joy.
I'm thinking about it from my everyday life now. Like, I use my phone for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every week, like on Sunday morning, the iPhone gives you a little report of how much you use it, and I use it a little too damn much. But just thinking about everything that has happened in my life since I got an iPhone. Like, that's, and think about everything that phone contains.
Mm-hmm.
All the contacts, and I can look through the contacts that I had. All the contacts I had, for the most part, since 2010 up to now, are in there.
Yeah.
From my time at Florida State, my time coming back home, going back to Palm Beach State, my time at FAU, getting my master's, my time moving to Miami, getting my law degree, my time finding a job and getting a job, and up to now. Like, and all those memories, all of that is encapsulated into that phone that I have. It's the new versions coming in, every so often, year after year. But the iPhone in general, my phone, contains all these memories. Everything that I've done is in there. Like, as far as making, as far as like keeping the contacts of my friends, all the stuff that I did on Twitter, all the stuff, people that I've met, past loves, past everything, all that was through that little rectangular thing that I carry with me all the time. My job depends on the damn thing. Like, everything is through that phone. Without that phone, I am essentially nothing. I am just a carcass. But that phone is everything in there. My family's in there. My friends are in there. My opinions, all the facts, my livelihood is through that phone. So how can I not give it to the phone over the decade? Like, I never used to rely on it before, but
That's
now
fair.
I can't. You can't really. In my profession, that type of stuff, and the things that I like, can't go without it. So my phone, and yes, yeah, my phone.
Francisco's phone, everybody.
It's in there, man. I use it to contact everybody, including my friends who are on my show right now. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Apple, and I don't know, it doesn't matter. Android, Apple, whatever.
Kleenex's 2019 non-sponsor for my sappy, my sappiness.
Well, you did put them as a non-sponsor when you were sick last year.
That's
just like I had
true.
looted.
That is true.
That is true. That's a good.
So,
Nice
we'll
callback.
just designate them.
That's a nice callback. Oh, yeah. That was a fun one.
That was fun.
Yeah, looking back on the year, the decade of stuff we like. Okay, so
I guess now it's time to look ahead.
yeah, 2020 things predict as far as we all. Gosh darn it, I do feel like the Yankees are going to win the World Series. I feel like because of all this, because of how they've constructed their team, and because of the injustices had upon them in the American League Championships and stuff, they're gonna find a way. They're gonna find a way. So, I guess if I had to predict 2020 World Series champion, it's gonna be the New York Yankees, and the world will be all the worse for it.
That's harsh.
I'm
gonna chime in. I mean, guys, Francisco, you and I have 2020 vision because we see it clearly. The Yankees are going to win the World Series. You want to know why? Because we're the best alternative that you have. Do you want the Red Sox or the Astros to claim these titles after they cheated?
The city and region of Boston has had enough with all their teams being good the first 2 decades of this millennium. So, it's over now. The Tennessee Titans have ended it. The St. Louis Blues helped last year as well. And, it is the beginning of the end for Boston. Actually, this kind of is reminiscent of the early 1900s. Because the Boston teams were pretty good in the beginning as well back then.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be a bunch of misery. So, hopefully.
God bless.
Yeah.
Well earned.
But the Yankees have constructed a great team. They got Garrett Cole, the big prize of free agency. And they've constructed their team with all of that sabermetrics stuff to go along with their billions of dollars. They could just throw at anybody. The Los Angeles Dodgers have tried to crack this code, but I feel like the Yankees are going to be the ones to do it. The Dodgers have spent a ton of money and developed their players, but I think the Yankees have what it takes, along with karma and the baseball gods, to pull it through this season. It's going to be. That's the way I feel. I mean, they got really close already, so they're just. And honestly, they were an ace pitcher away from doing so. So I guess, like Charles was saying earlier, CC Sabathia. I mean, this is one era going into another one, probably. Oof.
That rotation, man. Just to focus on a little bit. Everybody stays healthy. Garrett Cole, James Paxton, Luis Severino, Domingo Germán when he comes back from his domestic violence suspension, assuming they don't work him out of the bullpen, and then Masahiro Tanaka. I am so excited. You know what's going to happen, right? They'll be fine, and all the offensive guys are going to get
even if you guys
hurt.
get injured, so for some reason, everybody on the Yankees was dropping like flies throughout 2019, and yet they still kept winning.
Good management. Good managing. Aaron Boone is he's a boon for the Yanks. He's a boon for the Yanks as a manager. It is unacceptable that he did not get Manager of the Year, because this is what happens every time the Yankees have a little feel-good story about them. Their manager doesn't get afforded. We had everybody on that DL or that IL, whatever they want to call it now. Everybody. And they didn't want to give it to him. But you know what? We'll come back harder. Because, if you can't love us, we'll make you hate us. That African proverb, or the child who does not feel the warmth of the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. We're burning it down, MLB. We're coming at you hard.
Okay, so, technically we're in the NFL playoffs. Of the teams that are left, outside of the Tennessee Titans, who's going to... I mean, you would think the Chiefs would finally find a way to pull this off, right? Like I think it would feel good if Andy Reid could get his one. Like, this is probably the best shot he's had at it. Like, the big bugaboo is gone. The Patriots are gone. Like, this is their time. Like, they can't screw this up, can they?
Yes, they can.
I feel
and
like
I'll tell you why.
They're gonna go full Reid on us.
They're going to go full read, man. One of the things is they don't have the running game. It's Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy. And then two, you know what happens. Andy Reid psychs them out too much. I actually talked to people earlier. I think Houston's going to win. I don't think the Chiefs advance out of this round. There's only going to be – I have it straight up where, Baltimore is probably going to be the only one who takes it as a home team, and everybody else, it's walking a fine line. Like Seattle's going to beat who they got to beat. San Fran, that's a lie. San Fran will be the home team that comes in, but I don't see it in Kansas City because if they can't get it going. Now, mind you, Houston got lucky. That happens in the playoffs. But there's a benefit and there's also a detriment to having a bye week because you come out of sync, you're not feeling it, and Patrick Mahomes is basically a saint, but is his receivers gonna come out of the gate hot? Is that defense, which is suspect, gonna be able to deal with the magical God-given abilities of Deshaun Watson because he's going, what, son? Try to sack me because he can't sack him. And then you got, DeAndre Hopkins, who's just better than, all the receivers combined and Travis Kelce at the end of the day. Because he only really gets shut out when Jalen Ramsey's around. And guess what? None of those corners on that team for the Chiefs is Jalen Ramsey. You got the Honey Badger, and we love us a little bit of the Honey Badger on the Chiefs. But guess what? One man is not going to stop a god. And that's what's going on with Hopkins. And now you got kind of two gods with Deshaun Watson saying that to your face. So, I don't know, JJ Watt's back, so you got the other Watson kicking in. I don't know, guys. I don't think it's Kansas City.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out how Baltimore can translate what they've been doing in the playoffs. I feel like the playoffs would be a different beast to what they got this time off. That's why I feel like Kansas City might have the gumption to finally at least get to the Super Bowl from here on out, as long as once again, if they don't go full read on us. Baltimore, gosh, that's going to be really hard to get past them, though. I feel like that we'll get Baltimore KC in that AFC Championship, but it really depends on how Baltimore is in this game against the Titans. If the Titans keep it close, then it's like, okay, there's a weak point that KC can expose and get at. As far as overall, I don't know. I don't believe in San Francisco. I still don't believe in San Francisco right now. I don't think they haven't done anything, even in the regular season, to me, to warrant them being an odds-on favorite to win it in the NFC. I feel like Seattle can even take it to them. They've played. They already kind of dispelled their road woes by winning the last game against Philadelphia. So, and they might, they've lost to San Francisco in the regular season, but it doesn't really matter anymore. They can just get a crack at it in the playoffs, and they've got guys that are, they got beast mode back as well. There's a lot of momentum for the Seahawks with regards to that. That would be my NFC favorite, to be honest. Even Green Bay, I don't know. Somehow I feel good about the Seahawks. I somehow feel good about them. No, that's just me.
I have Baltimore-Seattle in the beginning of the year. It's tough for Seattle when there's all those injuries to running backs. Because here's the thing. Marshawn Lynch is old. He's going to be your goal line back. Let Travis Homer, a former Hurricane, get his job done. It will be getting touchdowns like they're donuts, you guys. But, it's more complete. The downside a little bit for the Seahawks was if Josh Gordon just knew how to, not violate anything, he would be primed to help them go further in the playoffs. But I think they did a shellacking a little bit. Philly was, mind you, Philly kind of put it to them, and they were undermanned severely. but I think they're still trying to figure out what that offense can be with just a lot of, cast off of running backs. But them versus Green Bay, I'm going to say it right now, and you know what, I made a joke about it earlier, but, if Aaron Rodgers wins the Super Bowl with this team this year, I'll buy a Rodgers jersey for all the guys in the office because I don't think he's really having that good of the year. I understand the offense is different, but I just don't see it anymore with him the way he's been playing. And now he's going to be that quarterback who just needs the cavalcade of good receivers, the great receivers, to help make everything go on. Aaron Jones is a fine addition. That Seattle defense is still kind of tough to break down with Jaron Reed, Jadeveon Clowney, if healthy, and a few other players that they have going on there. And then Russ Wilson has been kind of elite beyond elite to keep it going. And then on Baltimore's sake, they're going to play us this week, Tennessee. I would love it if the Tennessee Titans also knock out Baltimore. I would love it if they won the Super Bowl. I'm a realist. It's not happening. But Baltimore, after that, Kansas City or Houston, and, they went toe-to-toe with everybody else who was great in the season, and it's just everybody's too exciting. Maybe it fringes on Mark Ingram's injury because you're losing your second-best runner. And, I think the only thing that can really stop Baltimore, because Harbaugh's game planning very well, is does Lamar Jackson get hurt? Because that's the thing I want to see. Remember, he didn't go through a full season in the last year in his rookie year. He came in halfway and had one playoff game. Now we're talking about the full 16 games and then the remainder of playoffs. Will his body break down from a bad hit? Will he get injured? Is something going to sprain the wrong way? Because if that's the case, then it comes RG3, we're a little bit concerned. That's the reason why they rested, him in the final game of the season, so Griffin come in. But really, Baltimore, Seattle, and then I think that's the match everybody wants who's not a fan of the specific teams in the playoffs. Granted, I would love the Titans, but I'm being objective. What can I say?
Okay. Okay, so there's a college football national championship next week.
We have 2 championship games next week.
That's true.
Starting first on Saturday, we have the FCS National Championship between defending champion North Dakota State, the Bison, and James Madison University Dukes. JMU is based out of
Virginia?
Yeah. I forget where in Virginia.
That makes sense.
I forget where in Virginia. And then North Dakota State. Oh, no. This is the Bison. And by the way, it's not bison, it's bison. It's a Z instead of an S. Even though it's spelled with an S, it's pronounced with a Z. They make that very clear. No, the Bison have been to several championships. Let me look that up. And they usually win all of them.
Where do they play this?
Frisco, Texas.
Oh, that's like the only place they play it? Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking about that for one of the bowl games.
Right, where the place they host I wonder if it's still called the DXL Frisco Bowl, but it's held there as well. And then obviously the big one that everyone's talking about is LSU and Clemson. That's taking place in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome down in Louisiana. That is a bona fide home game. That is a de facto home game for LSU. So the people are eagerly waiting to see what sort of mayhem will result, because not only is it New Orleans for any game is crazy. So it's New Orleans. The national championship, which regardless of who's in it, it still gets a bit crazy. It's got the biggest team in Louisiana. It is going to be mass mayhem. And it is going to be amazing.
Wow.
Go Clemson. Let me see where James Madison said it's going to bother me.
LSU so definitively beat Oklahoma. Like,
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
are they odds on just gonna win, or does Clemson even stand a chance?
Clemson's going to win.
Because I mean, they've got the experience, that's for sure.
Clemson has the experience, no doubt. I don't know, man. When you massacre a team that readily, it's tough to. I get it. Oklahoma's not a great team. They got massacred last year against Alabama. But damn, the game I think was like 56-28 or something, if I remember correctly.
Something ridiculous.
But it easily could have been 70 points for LSU. Where are you going? Anyway, it easily could have been 70 points for LSU if they wanted to. I mean, can win a game of basketball against my 12-year-old nephew. LSU is playing a big boy now. I mean, that is true. Clemson is definitely not a team to mess with. That being said, they beat everybody they face. And I know Clemson did too, but they beat Alabama. They are a tough team. I think they win because they've got Joe freaking Burrow. He's the Heisman winner, and it's not. He deserves it. He was insane this year. Trevor Lawrence has not been the Trevor Lawrence of last year. He hasn't been. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good quarterback, but he's not as explosive as he was. That could have just been a one-year massive fluke. Who knows? But odds-on favorite is LSU right now. They're just really damn good.
Everything seems to be pointing towards them.
Yeah.
I mean, if Clemson goes into probably the biggest road disadvantage in a long time.
Think about it this way. Imagine that. Okay, what was the year that Green Bay won the Super Bowl? It was like 2011 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine if. I'm trying to think of a random small city that's in the NFL.
I mean, Green Bay is the smallest city.
Well, I'm using Green Bay as LSU in this example.
Oh, let's switch it to the Patriots then. The New England Patriots.
As
Like it's so dominant or whatever.
Okay. But
Versus
I meant it more for the crowd.
The crowd? Oh, Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas.
Like raucous?
Oakland Raiders.
The New Orleans
Okay,
Saints.
good one. Okay. Imagine the Oakland Raiders in their heyday, when they were just,
Los Angeles
Los
Raiders,
Angeles.
John Madden and all that.
Right. So, imagine that, and you're playing someone, whatever. You're playing them in Los Angeles.
UCLA ready to kick this one off.
Like,
Number 18 and number 1 back to
not only is LSU a good team, they're a great team. They're arguably, their ranking says they're number 1, and they deserve that number 1 ranking. But this is home field advantage like nothing ever before, I think. Well, that's not true. I think they would have at least played a national championship in the Superdome a couple of times. But this is a whole different monster, I think. That being said, there is a bit of a curse in the 14, 15, 16, 17. This is the 6th season of the college football playoff.
Right.
In the 5 preceding seasons, the number 1 seed has never won.
Really?
The number 1 seed has never won the national championship in the preceding 5 years.
So when Alabama won all those, they were number 2?
Right.
Holy, wow.
During the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's 3rd down and 10. Ball on their own 14. Number 28 lines up in the deep back. I formation.
Yeah, let me look that up to double check because I would have egg on my face if I didn't look it up. And Charles, to answer your question about NDSU, they have won they won national championships in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2017, and 2018. So since 2011, they've only not won one national championship, and I think they were in that one.
So I want to ask you a question real quick, not to
Wait,
deter away from
listening to
predictions.
your pods are out.
Who wants to ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
So if they've been that dominant, what is the basis of them being able to go from Division I to Division II? Because that's a mark of success that is just ridiculously great.
Well, they are in Division I, but they're in FCS.
Okay, so FBS, I mean.
So you want to know why they wouldn't make the jump?
Yeah, I'm just curious because, I mean, you're basically sitting on your crown of championship, so I don't know if it's a mission thing or if they're just their own personal AD and school and board of governors don't want to go into it. I'm just curious.
It comes down to logistics. It comes down to budget. It is expensive as hell to run a football team at any level. And once you're getting into the FBS level, just in the past couple of years, now that things are getting a bit more stratified between the FBS and FCS levels, hell, even just the Power 5 and the Group of 5. UConn is moving down to FBS independent. They're not even going to be in a conference anymore because they can't take it. They can't afford it. University of Idaho dropped back down to FCS. UMass came up from FCS, and there are indications they may just go back because they can't afford it anymore. And then the other problem is I don't know. That's the big issue is just the money.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. If they a conference would sweep them up in a heartbeat if they decided to jump to FBS. They are legitimately, I think, as good as not any FBS team, but they would hold their own from the get-go and then give them a few years with the added resources from conference TV or whatnot, and they would be contenders for the conference championship pretty quickly. Of course, it would be a smaller conference like the MAC or Conference USA. No Power 5 conference would pick them up. So the issue isn't the fact that they can play with the big boys, it's just they can't pay with the big boys. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
That was actually very clever on my part. They can play with the big boys, but they can't pay with the big boys. I like that.
Gotta pay to play.
Okay. Alright, so that's a college football kind of insight into the future. Hopefully next week we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Charles. I know it's wide open, but right now for the NBA, do you have any predictions as to where we're going so far? Because
I will make a valid prediction. The Bucks will not win the damn title because that's what everybody and their mother is on. Basketball is a very long sport. I am very cognizant of the fact that they have only like 7 losses. I believe Mike Budenholzer is a fantastic coach. He was a fantastic coach last year, and they have built a strong team. And yet here we are, crowning them when
they haven't
it's a
done
little bit more
anything.
competitive. Yeah, and that's with everybody. Even you and I talked about it beforehand in the past about the Heat season, how great it is, but they haven't really beat anybody. Now they're starting to beat people.
Yeah.
They beat Houston a couple times. They beat Philly a couple times through the
They
fraud.
beat Milwaukee. They beat Houston, Philly. They've come close against the Lakers. So it's not. They're competitive enough.
Yeah. So you know it's very tough because what I find about basketball that I think is actually great for the sport because you don't get it in baseball and you certainly don't get it in football. Come trade deadline time, boy howdy, you get some players that get moved that just amplify a team. As a Heat fan, we got Goran, and we thought getting Goran and Bosch before the blood clots was going to change everything, and we got all very aroused by the pick and pop game that would have been, or even we got a certain man coming back from, not Japan, but overseas, Birdman Anderson, how that changed our game, or a lot of other teams that have those midseason trades. There's a plethora of them. I mean, look, just even getting Jimmy Butler last year for the 76ers, and this is the sport where that one trade changes. So I'm not going to crown anybody until I see what unhappy person wants out of their contract and what rebuilding team, the Pistons, would do with an Andre Drummond putting them elsewhere, because basketball is that sport where you can trade people and at the tip of the hat and it's over. Want to know how we know? Because history tells us such. Remember the Lakers when they got Pau Gasol? Man.
Yeah.
They didn't win it that year. They lost the Celtics in 7, but then they won the following 2 years. Sometimes the trades that happen before the deadline set up for the immediate future and sometimes set up past. Let me give you an example. Last year's traded for Kawhi, and then mid-season they went and got Marc Gasol because Marc Gasol is a big postman who could stop the outside shooting three, and look what it yielded. The result that you wanted. Granted, I know Andrew hates asterisks. I respect his opinion, but that's kind of a big asterisk when it's just basically, Steph Curry doing some things, trying to go against that Toronto team. But I'm not going to go against it because it actually supports my theory that they trade for the right guys. So looking at the standings now, I mean, likely favorites are easy. Milwaukee of the East. I really like what the Celtics are doing. They could be that team who trades for the big man because Theis and
the Celtics, Danny Ainge has found a way to kind of construct this team through some savvy trades and all that type of stuff. So I can see them doing that. I can see the Heat doing that as well. The Heat are infamous for savvy trades as well.
I like our guys though. I don't want to really trade away.
I mean, there's the debate about Justice Winslow because he's been out for a while. The Heat been doing great without him for a while. Is he necessary on this team? But there's the other argument, like last game, James Johnson, he's been sitting for quite a while. Spo found a moment to call him up. Jimmy Butler was out for the game, so and James Johnson balled out. Goran Dragic got 29 points in the game. So maybe Justice is just a matter of what. He's still valuable to us. We'll find a way to work him in. Of course, Eric Spoelstra is a great head coach. It's really tough to gauge the Heat. Is this enough, or do they need like one extra piece? I don't know what the oomph would be, the push would be.
I would like another big man who can shoot because Myers Leonard is kind of inconsistent. Because him and Kelly Olynyk, if they could just do a DBZ fusion and become like Kelly Leonard, then it would work a little bit because Bam is the rim protector who actually can pass out of the post. I wish Hassan would do that. Let's talk about that real quickly in 2 seconds of an insult. Yeah, Hassan comes back to Miami, has a fantastic game, and the team still loses. Doesn't that sound familiar?
That was
Francisco.
the topic of debate, especially because it's like, okay, what, he had a triple-double, right? He had a triple-double?
He played excellent, and his team still lost.
Yeah, exactly. So Hassan Whiteside, actually, even before the game, they asked beat writer Ira Winderman, like, what if the Portland Trailblazers decide to feed Hassan Whiteside the ball because this is his revenge game, and he actually stated, he said, the Heat would love it if that was the game plan for the Blazers that game, because it means the ball is out of the hands of a guy named Damian Lillard. Out of all the shooters that Hassan Whiteside was talking about, we got shooters. It's out of their hands and in his hands, where the ball just basically is a black hole. So that was what happened in a sense.
Amazing.
Just
amazing. And that was his time going into the Western Conference, because we can attack Hassan all day long. Nice guy. Main's a Yoshi, so that annoys Francisco. And for me, it was, you're a man in the post who doesn't know how to pass out of the post, so you're useless because you can't help function a three-point shot when it's so damn viable these days. The Lakers, depending on LeBron's health, they could be a big... Frank Vogel's done great. Let's just say it. I know we want to talk about talent, but they've gotten better defensively. Much
He's a
better
good coach.
defensively.
He just needs a good team around him. He had solid pieces in Indiana, but then he goes off to what? Was it Orlando?
Orlando.
The Magic don't have the pieces for him to work with.
Yeah.
He didn't develop the pieces. Then he goes off to LA, and he's been handed. Last year, frankly, there was still a team in transition. And they got the big guy, in AD, who declined an extension offer today, but that's probably par for the course because he can get more money just by entering free agency. Even if he stays with the Lakers, he'll get paid more. I still, I've been watching some of the Clippers games, in the late games, and they look good to me. I feel like they play the Lakers really well. I think they're, especially Doc Rivers, Kawhi Leonard, those guys, in the mindset they don't have to win every single freaking game. They have a mercenary like Kawhi who's gone into hostile road environments and won. The Clippers have there's a grittiness behind them, especially with a guy like Patrick Beverley, guys like that kind of helps them keep their composure in these tough situations going on the road and stuff. So I still see them as a really legitimate contender, possibly even being able to beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. I feel like they could find a way to wear them down. And Kawhi is one of the dynasty killers. So it's a very real possibility that the Clippers. They look good. They look. I don't believe in what's going on in Houston. I don't think the Rockets will. Regular season, blah blah blah. They'll get their wins. They'll get like a 3 or maybe even a 2 seed if they really do great and all that stuff. But I don't see them putting it together for the playoffs. They're still highly dependent on that high-powered offense, and they disappear. They disappear at the biggest moments. And you got two guys that also disappear. You got James Harden and Russell Westbrook. So I don't believe in what's going on out in Houston. Dark horse.
Denver.
Yes.
How do you sleep on a 2 seed? Like, they're in the same position as they were last year. They finished the 1 seed, fundamentally sound team. Mike Malone should be appreciated for his work done.
They
I
almost
think,
feel like the Utah Jazz of the 90s in a way.
yeah, that's fairly accurate. Fairly accurate. A lot of complete players, no superstars. I think that's the problem that hurts them because
Or
Gary
secret
Barden.
superstar. I mean, Jokic is kind of like
Yeah.
a quiet superstar, almost Tim Duncan-esque in some sense.
And it's because of the position he plays. That's the
Right.
problem. You know, he's not a sexy shooter on the three because that's what we got used to on big men, but the guy's rock solid. Good post defender, can shoot, a little bit outside the paint, reliable, can dunk. Trust me, we've seen big men who can't dunk. It happens. He's got handles, man. They're just a complete team, which you always like them to have more reliable shooting. Yeah, because that's always what you want out of a team, right? But that's a defensively sound team, and good on Malone. He deserved that extension for like another 2 years, I think they set out from his original contract. It's weird saying a number 2 seed. And maybe it's because we feel it's a fluke, but I can't call it a fluke when they were in that position last year. I agree with you, Houston. Not serious about them. The Clippers, they can make that run. It's basketball. Really, 1 through 6 is just as dangerous. The only ones we don't take seriously is 7 and 8. That's the truth.
I mean, currently, right now, because Milwaukee's number 1, then the Lakers, then the Celtics, then the Heat, and then the Nuggets. Those are your top 5. Then behind them is Houston. So those are the top 6 teams. Then the Clippers. But like I said, I don't think the Clippers are putting that much importance in the regular season. They have the Kawhi maintenance program that affects their record. Doc Rivers also. I mean, this is not his first rodeo, so. He knows that some games the teams can take off a little bit, and sometimes you don't want to show all your cards. Really, they've shown their cards against the Lakers for the most part, but they don't want to show all of their cards prior to the playoffs. Because once the playoffs start, it's a whole different, half-court ball game, all that type of stuff. Regular season is more about figuring out your rotations, tinkering with what you got, experimenting a little bit. Eric Spoelstra's famous for experimenting. We got that zone defense that the Heat are trying as well. This is fun to see. But I like the Clippers. I mean, I've seen a few of their ball games now because I'm a fan of Kawhi. So, and I like what I've been seeing. I feel like once the playoffs start, we're gonna see. Basically, they're going to try and copy the Toronto Raptors model in some sense, but probably with some nicer pieces than the Raptors had even last year. So yeah, that's I feel like it'll come out of the West. As much as I want the Heat to do well, I feel like the champion will come out of the West.
Yeah.
Do we want to run over a little bit and do a little bit of cage?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because I can't really predict an NHL champion. It's so random. Who would have thought this? Who would have thought the St. Louis Blues? They were the last place team starting 2019, and they won the Stanley Cup.
I know.
So it's really hard to predict. I mean, the Detroit Red Wings are not going to win it all. That's for sure.
Who?
And they're the Red Wings.
Right.
They're the worst team. They're way worse than the Blues were last year. So, but it's really hard. I mean, the Capitals look great, but the Capitals look great every year. And, they've only got one. The Bruins look good, but they're kind of falling off a little bit. The Lightning scare me.
Why?
They are on because they started off the year like kind of but they're starting to hit their stride, and I feel like, and I've said this on Twitter, I feel like they could retake the division by the All-Star break. Like, they've climbed all the way back. They got the 3rd place seed in the Atlantic Division. They're going to come for the 2nd one, and the Bruins have kind of stumbled. So the Lightning are like really 3, maybe like 4 or 5 games away from retaking that division and going into the All-Star break with the lead. And they were embarrassed last year. I don't think they look like they're on a mission. They're kind of Virginia Cavaliering this basketball-wise in some sense. They scare me. They really do scare me.
It was humiliating.
The Panthers can't beat them. The Panthers are like we beat them one game, but it was kind of like home opener, that type of stuff. And the Lightning weren't playing that well, but the last time the Lightning spanked the Panthers. The Panthers have the second best offense in the NHL right now, and the Lightning held them to 1 goal and spanked them like 6-1. So, if I had to choose like a team that I could see winning the cup, it would be the Lightning, just because of how they're playing and how they're going about their season. Out west, I can't. The Blues look good, but I can't see them repeating. It's so hard to repeat in the NHL. The Penguins did it, but it's really hard. Other than that, yeah, that's my NHL 2020 predictions, I guess, from what I've seen.
Honestly, I have not been following as much as I would want to.
I will tell you this, Connor McDavid is absolutely ridiculous. You should have seen the goal that he had the last game against the Leafs. Faking this guy out. I mean, he's a cheat code. He is a freaking cheat code. The Oilers suck, but he is a cheat code. They've kind of fallen a bit. They're still kind of, they could make the playoffs, but it doesn't look like they'll get far because there's only so much McDavid can do.
Mm-hmm.
Draisaitl's actually really good as well. But there's only so much that top line can do. The rest of the team is just Defense is Okay. So, Charles, let's get into a very 2019 review / 2020 outlook of the cage.
Ooh.
Oh,
well,
boy.
welcome everybody. Ooh.
Oh boy.
Ready?
A lot of things in wrestling happened last year.
You guys, so many of the things, and a lot of things happened in 2020 already a start. So, welcome everybody to your 2020 Vision Edition of The Cage with Charles, your weekly / yearly Truplex, maybe? What's going on for your everyday fashions? Full disclaimer, wrestling is not fake, it is scripted, it is a dance, it is a ballet, it is poetry in motion. Man versus man for love of a woman, love of a man, chasing championships. It's a pure good underdog story. And you guys, 2019 was a weird year. 2019 was all about what? Competition. Because in 2019, you had the WWE thinking it's the cock of the walk, but then you had that cool new guy that moved down the street called All Elite Wrestling, AEW, financed by Tony Khan, son of Jacksonville Jaguar owner Shad Khan, with the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega as the VPs, putting some things in motion here. They had their pay-per-views, Double or Nothing, a couple other ones, and then they had Full Gear, and then they also had their TV show Wednesday Dynamite premiere. Coincidentally, Vince McMahon pulled off some big trigger moves. He had NXT go live instead of it being pre-recorded on the WWE Network for $9.99 a month. You should get it if you like some wrestling or you want to be intrigued. Instead, they went live on USA. Furthermore, Friday Night SmackDown, guys. I have a hard time watching it because I like to think I do stuff for a living, which is really not true. I just, go to the gym and pass out. But, wrestling's available to me on Fridays now. Monday Night Raw was around, but it shifted around a bit. So, we've now kind of have like the weekly war going on for competitions. New Japan Wrestling, still kind of excellent. I want to talk about them for the 2020 vision of it, but we're on 2019. But if you said, guys, Charles, in your cage, if you had to put up some picture frames of a great 2019 season, what would you put up there? Respectively for AEW, even though I'm not fully sold on it. I still watch bits of it. I'll watch some of it tomorrow, along with some NXT. I'll put on the success of them putting the title belt on Le Champion, the greatest champion to ever walk in all forms of wrestling industry. That's where I'm going there. For WWE, for WCW, now for AEW. The right decision where they get my picture frame. Chris Jericho, they made him the All Elite Wrestling Heavyweight Champion of the world. The right decision. He got a little bit of bubbly. The man gets everything over. The man could get a fart over with the crowd. He's that good. He's got catchphrases. I love him. He's just so good.
He's the total package.
He is the total package. That dad bod, not so much, but you know what? He's almost 50. What am I going to do? He found, and he's rejuvenated in his career because he went from being kind of like a pedantic crap heel to being this kind of pseudo-dominant champion. He's been holding the belt since it was introduced back in around August or September, if memory serves right. Beat Adam Page clean, defended it against Cody Rhodes, won against Cody, and now the other 2019 surprise, my other picture frame for AEW, Jon Moxley is challenging for the title. The former Dean Ambrose, are they going to give it to him? I think they're going to pull a sneaky. I don't think they're going to let Moxley have it. I think they're going to try to build up some stars, and then eventually Kenny Omega will take it from Chris Jericho. But right now, that's kind of like the claim to fame for AEW. I'll even give Cody Rhodes a picture frame. Your match with your brother Dustin Rhodes was pretty great. Your match with Chris Jericho was pretty great. I kind of wish you weren't so involved in all the storylines because you're getting beat up now by MJF, who introduced Wardlow, and now you got the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. It's a weird name of the team. I don't know. Whatever. Coming into play. But, Cody, I'll put you on in there. You guys are doing good. You've only been in existence, really, for, in my opinion, 2 or 3 months. I know you've been around longer because you have pay-per-views, but I'm judging you from when you came onto a TV show where I can follow you weekly. Because here's the thing, you guys. AEW is not going to have monthly pay-per-views, unlike their counterpoints. They're only going to have like 4 or 6 pay-per-views a year. This is still in the baby steps. But you know what? It's an alternative. We talked about it earlier on video games. Competition makes you better. So, they're making themselves better because they know what they have to go against. Switching over to WWE. Boy, there were some popular decisions and there were some unpopular decisions. And if I have to put my picture frame in the cage to remember you by, as I'm in my little domicile wondering about life wrestling, 2 things come to mind. 2 things that I think you gentlemen could even predict without having me say it. But I'm going to do it anyway because, I like to take control when you're in my cage. Kofi Mania was the best feel-good story of the year, the best storyline of the year across all platforms of wrestling, because you guys know I just don't watch WWE. I'm watching AEW. I'm watching New Japan. I even do a little bit of Ring of Honor, even some TNA Impact. It's kind of rough on that end. Let's not talk about it. But, Kofi Mania, the guy was in there for 11 years, an unlikely entrant in the whole title picture storyline, because Ali got hurt, so they put him into the Elimination Chamber. Vince loved it, the crowd loved it, and they drew it out perfectly. I was there in North Carolina when Kofi thought he was going to go against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, and all of a sudden Kevin Owens comes out of nowhere to steal his thunder. So you felt for Kofi, and then what happened? The New Day win it for their boy, so he gets to go to WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan. And then what happened?
This year.
It's Tampa. Well, we might talk about that in a future show. You get 22, 25 minutes of a great match between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship, where the crowd is hot. And Kofi wins. Brought a little speckle of a tear to my eye. Loved it. Kofi Mania, you get it. I have a New Day shirt, it's fine. But let's talk about the other thing that I love in WWE, because there's a lot. And, here's the thing about wrestling. If we harbor too much on the great old days, we forget about what's in the current on the horizon. But one man who really, and booking almost screwed him over. But one thing I've loved in 2019, you guys should know, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. I was enthralled. I was captivated. Everybody loved Bray. He's always been a good talker. He's the son of a former legendary wrestler, Erwin R. Scheisser, IRS. His brother is Bo Dallas. These are wrestling family. Bray was always good on the mic. He was creative. He was a cult leader. And he's gone for like 8-9 months. And you're like, man, is Bray going to leave? He's going to pull a Dean Ambrose and go appear in Double or Nothing or an AEW like Moxley did? Instead, he comes back to this whole Mr. Rogers thing. And you're like, oh my God, he's kind of like a cult leader now. This is great. And then you're held up for 2 months. And then in SummerSlam against Finn Balor, you saw The Fiend. And boy, he asked me to let him in, and I let him in, just like Dracula on the outside. And he's going to kind of take my blood because I have loved it since. Because wrestling, as we talked about, sometimes it's soap opera, sometimes it's 2 guys beating the crap out of each other, 2 women beating the crap out of each other, but sometimes a little bit of spooky supernatural. The Undertaker, Kane, Sting, the Boogeyman. Now we have our new day and age with The Fiend, and I loved every bit of it. He captured the Universal Championship. I don't like the fact that he wrestles with the red lights now going on because that would kind of annoy me. I like the mask. I want that scary aesthetic, and he's been doing good, guys, because at the Royal Rumble, now we're shifting it to 2020. It's going to be Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. Bray's probably going to drop it in Tampa to Samoa Joe. I almost lost it. I'm too happy there. To Roman Reigns. whose real name is Joe, so that's how it keeps in my mind, completing Roman's feel-good story to reclaim the title that he had to vacate a year prior or a year and a half prior. That's the plan, I think. I'll be okay with it, but The Fiend is such a spooky, supernatural guy that I always feel like there should be interference. But WWE, loving you on the whole, Kofi Mania and The Fiend. And I'm going to give a little shout out to New Japan Wrestling because I don't talk about it enough because it's kind of hard. It's all Japanese. It's not as televised for, the audience in terms of storyline outside the ring, but they have put on some really good consistent matches, and their G1 Climax tournament was just fantastic. I might climax myself. You had Minoru Suzuki in there. You had Tomohiro Ishii going against Jon Moxley. Jeff Cobb was involved, so you're getting talent in there. Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada were putting on a whole show. Naito, Kota Ibushi. It all led to whoever won the G1 Climax wins the briefcase to cash in against their championship match to Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan's form of WrestleMania. And you guys, this is where transiting to 2020, because over the weekend was Wrestle Kingdom 14, gentlemen. And it was a two-nighter event. And it was the first time. The stakes were so high with the gold double dash because you had Jay White defending his Intercontinental Championship on one night. Then you had Kazuchika Okada, I can't say their names, after years of watching Naruto, you think I could, but I can't, defending his title against Kota Ibushi, who won the G1 Climax. And then the next night would be the unification of whoever won Jay White versus Naito, Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi. So, to give you spoilers, Tetsuya Naito won the Intercontinental belt, Kazuchika Okada retained it, and then the next night, Wrestle Kingdom Part 2 of Wrestle Kingdom 14, Tetsuya Naito, Mr. Tranquilo, Mr. Destino. He did some stuff in Japan, so he created the faction Los Ingobernales de Japón. I butchered that, please, all my Spanish people. Yeah, they're saying I don't say Ingobernales that much, so it's tough. I tried. Be proud of me. I'm going to go run away now, move back to Miami for 5 years. He was able to claim to fame the new to be both the first time Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and that's where we're going now in 2020. So 2020, we're looking forward to what? Aside from good wrestling from New Japan, I need some consistency from AEW. I want you to be great because I like wrestling all around. I also look forward to pronouncing Ingobernales very well. You see, I've already improved it. And then for WWE, I need some strong booking. I need you to be consistent with whom you book. If you're making Drew McIntyre, the sexy Scotsman as he calls himself, to be a real Hoff, I need you to do that. I need you to figure out who is the superstar that can actually bring down Brock Lesnar, because it's Royal Rumble season, boys. And they're already doing some head-scratching stuff because Brock Lesnar is WWE champion. He's the one who beat Kofi Kingston, sadly, but it was the right call, I feel. But now Brock's going to enter into the Royal Rumble as the first entrant? What's the story? What are you trying to tell me? What can we do to accomplish it? And you know what I need? I need payoff. I need payoff for Bobby Lashley versus Rusev, because this whole blackout cuckold kind of storyline, it's a soap opera that I love, but I need a good conclusion. That's with Rusev winning a form of a title at WrestleMania, with Bobby Lashley involved, getting his U.S. Championship, getting an Intercontinental Championship, getting some kind of championship, and reunited Lana just like Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth did all those years ago, WrestleMania 4 or 5.
I want to know, is there like a Wikipedia, like a wrestling centric one, like where I can like learn like the storylines, or basically
We need to do a Learn-A-Goof.
You can basically call me, and I probably know, but you can typically find it if you just Google whatever is going on. A lot of it, the wikis, you can just wiki the wrestlers, and they'll kind of tell you certain things for the feuds. YouTube's really the best thing because I won't pay for New Japan World because I'm cheap. For $10 a month, I'm cheap for some reason, even though I'll pay gladly $10 to the WWE Network, but I'll watch some of the New Japan matches on my phone. I'll watch some of the AEW pay-per-view matches on my phone on YouTube. YouTube, my new sponsor of the year, apparently. Because, I like to be invested. Even if it's just like the little mini recaps, even to give you the idea of the stories. Because, for like New Japan, it's all subtitles, and then they lost their, they're not going to be doing U.S. broadcasts this year, so they're not going to be on Axis, because Axis got bought out by Anthem, who oversees Impact Wrestling, so there's some pettiness involved. And look, Impact Wrestling, I'll give it a little picture frame, because we talk about picture frames and all that stuff. They have Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan for the Impact, championship. I'm not too crazy about intergender matches for a championship. Not because I'm not progressive and I think, women have business in wrestling. I really think they do. I think they can main event very well. It's just, it kills a little bit of illusion when you have fat boy Sami Callihan at like 6'4", 300 something pounds, and poor Tessa Blanchard. And Tessa's probably going to complete it and win the Impact Championship. She's going to be the probably first female on a televised platform to win the highest title out of all the wrestling businesses. But Is it good for business? I don't know, because is that going to be a draw to make people watch it? You might get the YouTube hits. Maybe you get some people that subscribe to your pay-per-view. But Anthem, their founding company, did buy out licensing rights to Access, so maybe they are doing the right thing at the platform. Maybe that's going to be the thing that comes out nowhere. It'll be interesting. Tessa Blanchard's great, guys. Like, she's a fantastic wrestler. Maybe her talents are kind of get a wasted impact, but that's not for me to theorize. That's stuff for her and her agent and what success that she wants. And that, boys, I think is our time in the cage. 2019, come and go.
Okay.
That was a good one.
All right, so I think we're going to end it on that note. So 2020, we have to do like an actual watch, like sit down and watch one of these episodes with Charles on wrestling.
Yeah.
Actually do it live on the screen here. But thanks, guys, and I guess we'll see you next week.
All right.
Ciao.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
They send out the punting unit. He punts it.
Number 21 takes it to 33.
A confident defense heads out onto the field after stopping this offense on a 4th down attempt the last time they were on the field.
And the last thing you want to do is to come out and do nothing again and give them even more confidence.
Penalty markers down. They took too much time.
Dead ball. Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still
So
first
the
down.
delay of game will move him back a few, and I'm pretty sure the coach isn't happy with his quarterback right now. First and 15 now. Ball on the 29. Kentucky brings in their nickel package. Back to pass. Looks. Rolling out to the left side. He lets it go deep down the middle. The ball is tipped. The pass was knocked down.
This defense is very aggressive, and they swarm to the football. They're always making plays to disrupt the passing game.
It's 2nd down, 15 to go. Ball on their own 29. Kentucky brings in the nickel here. He's looking. He rolls out to the left. Across the middle. Oh, he had a shot at the pick. That's what can happen when you run the same play.
You need to be aware of that and try to mix things up to keep the defense off balance.
3rd and 15 coming up. Ball on the 29. Number 16 comes to the line with 3 wide. Drops back to pass. He rolls left. He's going to air it long. And they couldn't hook up on that one. 3 plays, all passes, and not one of them completed on that short series. And that's what you call a quick